We are live. We are live. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. To everyone who's joining us today, if you're joining us from LinkedIn, if you're joining us from Facebook, or if you're joining us from YouTube, go ahead and let us know where you're joining us from. We are indeed happy to have you joining us for this another lunch and learn. This is where we are each Tuesday. Wow, it's not Tuesday, it's Friday. At this time, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's where we talk about a topic that is relevant to our growth and to our potential in life. And today we will be talking about the power of what next. The power of what next. And with me today is my co host, Dr. Siegfried Howell. Dr. Howell is a master life coach, he is a life relationship and happiness consultant. And our other co host, Dr. Marcia Thomas, should be joining us shortly. Hopefully, she gets on here before we close the session. But I'm Dr. Janice Brooks. I am your life strategist. I'm also a leadership coach and consultant, and I am a licensed pastoral and certified temperament counselor as well. Let's dive into this topic today, Dr. Howell, because this is such an interesting topic that we have ahead of us here. And we only have just about 25 minutes to make sure that we do some justice to this topic as well. Because, many people in their lives have been asking this question: what's next? Or what's my next? And it is quite normal for people to ask themselves this question. As a matter of fact, I say everyone should be asking themselves this question at some point in time, so that you can actually go into that deep self reflection and be able to see through this question and, as best as possible, to answer this question: what's my next? And so, this is a topic we're going to be talking about today. And the thing is that most people really don't have the answer to that question, if you ask me. Most people don't have the answer to that question, and it's okay, because once you have that desire to know what's next, then that's the first action that happens. That's the first step you can take. One, to start reflecting, or two, to get the help that is needed so that you can get to the place of answering this what's next question. So, Dr. Howell, I want to just think a little bit about this what's next question, because this is actually a self-reflection question. And if we were to talk about why self-reflection is so important, um, when we are seeking to change or to adapt into change, I would actually, and I'm going to ask you to add your voice, I would actually say that self reflection is really important. It is a time spent with ourselves when we're able to do what I would call a stock taking, when we're able to look deep inside, I say deep inside our soul. And deep inside our soul mean we take stock of our own will, our own emotions, our own desires. And when we come face to face with our actions, those thoughts, and it is out of this process, I do believe, that we are really able to come to ourselves. And deep inside of self reflection are all of those self assessment questions as well. And this question enables each person to really make correction, to, as I said before, to really take stock of where they are, and sometimes very quickly. Because when you reflect, you realize that, oh my God, I'm so far back from where I think I should be or where I want to be. And so you have to start making those corrective actions to get to where you need to get to. What would you add to that, Dr. Howell?
Um, that's a very loaded question. The first thing that I would say is this:
Dr. Howell is not sure what's happening, but your phone is,
Have Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you now. Mhm.
Okay, yeah. So sometimes you do something and it's so far out of your character, you say to yourself, "Man, why did I do that?" And the only way to find out what is behind that is to do some self-reflection, because there are so many things that lurk in the shadows of our mind. And unless we address those situations, we repeat them again and again and again. And so self-reflection allows you to look deep inside of you and find those triggers, those pains, those things that haunt you, and just make you have those limiting beliefs about yourself. And also self-reflection can let you see that maybe you aren't as bad off as you might have thought you were. See, some people are ahead of the game, and so self-reflection lets you see, hey, I'm not as bad off as I thought. For a lot of us that not planning ahead, we might be a little behind where we need to be. But self-reflection allows us to identify those areas of resistance or those areas of negativity, those areas of limiting beliefs that pull us back and stop us from attaining our true potential and reaching the heights of happiness that we can reach.
Wonderful addition to that, Dr. Howell. Yes, self-reflection indeed help us to really look deep into ourselves. And I'm actually thinking as well that self-reflection also help every single one of us to lead a fulfilling life,
Mhm.
because without self-reflection we really don't know where we are so many times. And so if the question should be asked, why do I have to lead a fulfilling life, Dr. Howell? I personally would say, why not? Why should I not live a fulfilling life? And also, Dr. Howell, I would also say a fulfilling life is also relative to different people. Uh, uh, and,
Definitely.
and this is relative because what I may see as a fulfilling life may be something that you don't see as a fulfilling life. It may be different for another person. So we first have to think firsthand as to what gives us fulfillment or what we think fulfillment is before we really can answer that question. How would you answer that, Dr. Howell?
Yes. Okay. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. The reason why we have to live a fulfilling life is because for most of us, Tony Robbins says it this way: there are six drivers on the unconscious level that drive us every single day, and we may not be aware of them. But the last two, everyone has, and the last two, which is five and six, is, for example, your need to grow and develop. Everyone has a burning urge to be good at something. And the sixth one, the sixth driver that's subconscious, is everyone needs to feel like they've made a difference in the world. And so you hear a kid say to the mom, Am I special? Do you love me?" That is a need for significance. That is a need for relevance. And so everyone has those two drivers. But apart from that, we also have one additional or one major one and a minor one that accompany those two. And so you will not, and this is what Tony Robbins says, and I agree with him, you will never achieve true happiness unless you seek growing and fulfilling some type of goal. And the second thing that will deter your happiness is if you don't feel like you've made a difference in the world. So everything that we do aligns us to provide some sense of meaning and purpose. It allows us to utilize our unique gifts and talents. And if you're Bible based, the Bible says we're fearfully and wonderfully made. We're all made to achieve a specific task. And that task may not be easy. If you ask Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, their task was not an easy task, but it's something that they had to do. It was their burden that they had to bear. And so, regardless of whether or not you want to do it or not, You were born with a very specific and unique purpose that only you can do. However, some of us are very lazy people. And so some of us push back and kick back and scream back because we don't want to do it. And in those cases, we never ever achieve the happiness or the realization that we want in life because we are fighting when we should be pushing forward.
Wow, that is such an excellent response. And I like the end part of it where you say we don't reach it because sometimes we're fighting when we really need to be doing something else. And it brings me back to the point, Dr. Howell, and I see that Dr. Marcia is with us.
Hmm.
Um, it brings me back to the point, Dr. Howell. Just when we think about that fulfilling life too, we have to ask ourselves, what are the benefits that I will derive from gaining this fulfillment that I believe is fulfillment for me? Because Dr. Howell, I said earlier that some things that we consider to be fulfillment, maybe not fulfillment. And so we have to look at the benefit aspect of it. What will I derive from leading this life? And how can I make myself valuable, or how will I become valuable by leading this life, this fulfilling life that I'm thinking about? And a fulfilling life is actually where we are able to stand in our own purpose without judgment on ourselves. So I really wanted to add that, because a lot of times people
Hmm.
would say, well, my life is so fulfilled, and you say, tell me about it. And when you say, tell me about it, and they start to tell you, you wonder, where in that life is really fulfilling.
Hmm.
But because it's so relative to different persons, that you wonder sometimes. Dr. Marcia, we welcome you to this session today. Glad you're here. Dr. Marcia is
Thank
a
you.
Christian life consultant and coach, and she is part of our team here, a co-host on a Friday in this Lunch and Learn. And I'm going to put you on the spot, well, as you're here, because we were just talking about the real fulfillment. And Dr. Howell just answered that question. But I want to ask you, Dr. Marcia, what are some of the practical steps that you think people should take to identify any kind of unique untapped skill, gift, capacities, capabilities, whatever they have? Because most time people want to know, what is the practical thing that I can do? I hear you talking, but give me some steps that I can take.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I want to look at the steps that you can take to discover your unique skills. Number one, I want you to just take a moment where you are, because it's really teaching the method with the method. And you can start writing down the things that you do over and over that you're comfortable with. You'll find yourself in all situations using these particular gifts and talents over and over. If it is helping someone, it's the same gift that is required. If it is to reprimand, it's the same gifts. If it is to really do some retrospection, you it requires you to do the same thing. So say, for example, your unique gift is to ruffle, to smooth ruffled feathers. You find that you can appeal to someone no matter how angry they are and get them to respond in the positive. You might be doing that in your family because that's where you got your practice. You might find that in your workplace, that is what you do best. And if anybody needs anything, they call you for mediation. If you are on the bus, if you're in the supermarket, you'll find that even persons that you don't know, you have that ability to appeal to them. That is a practical example. The next step that you want to do is to write down your passions. What is it that you're truly passionate about? Write them down. What is the expertise that you have that keeps leading you back to these particular things, abilities that you have and talents? So you all roads lead right there. Write down. Look at the persons that you find that you always need this gift or this talent or this ability or this capability. Look at those persons who need it and begin to hone in on how you can maximize this to assist them. You want to also look at those persons who you can help with this these unique gifts, but they are not in your reach. So you would want to look at how, whenever you reach an exceptional one at any point, what is the route that you take to get there. When you put those things in, you want to sit down and become very reflective on how it makes you feel when you do these things, so you can begin to tick off those that give you total fulfillment, absolute joy, and you want to put those on the top of your list, and you want to see how you can hone in those others that you find that you have that is very unique, because you want to find the niche that they fit in along with those that you have marked off because they are consistently used even when you do not want to use them.
Wow.
Mm,
Those are
mm,
some
mm, mm.
PowerPoints right there. We're talking about those practical ways that people can really pull to the fore those talents, skills, abilities, everything that they have within them. Dr. Howell,
And Dr. Booth, just before we move, sometimes you don't even realize you have those skills or you're using those skills. So feedback is very important. There are some persons who say to you, you know, you're good at smoothing harsh situations or causing calm. You take that with you. I have observed you in those settings, and you must listen to those types of feedback also.
excellent, excellent point, Dr.
Mm,
Marcia.
mm,
So Dr. Howell, I just hear Dr. Marcia. And when I think about it, there is a follow-up question to this, because Dr. Marcia just talked about the abilities and the untapped skills, and but how do I harness these skills and abilities and then transfer what I have to venture out into new and uncharted waters? Because we're talking about what next. People have to face this question, and they want to know, now that Dr. Marcia told us, how can we pull these together and start to move with them?
Well, you know what? Like you said, that is the follow-up question. A lot of times we don't believe that something that is a gift is actually a gift because it comes easy to us, and we take it for granted. And so, like Dr. Marcia said, you have to ask questions and get feedback. Because, for example, my wife is good at leadership roles, but she likes to be in the background. But when she gets up and she presents, she does a very good job. So she doesn't feel like that's where she needs to be, but I know that's where she needs to be. And so sometimes we have a limiting belief that kind of holds us back from reaching our full potential. So once you have identified your personality, once you've identified your values, once you've identified your skills, your gifts, and your attributes that you're good at, the next thing you have to do is figure out, hey, when I am on my deathbed, what will hurt me if I have not achieved it? And so write down 2 to 3 things that you want to be known for on your deathbed. And then you reverse engineer it. And then you start to identify, okay, this will take me 5 years to do. So what do I have to do to get here in 5 years? This will take me a year to do. What would I have to do to get here in a year? This will take me 6 months to do. And you go all the way down to weekly. And then every morning when you get up, everything you do, you're using your gifts, your values, your boundaries, your belief system, the inner circle of people around you. Everything you do is going towards fulfilling that goal 20, 30, 40 years from now. But it starts with awareness. You have to be aware, and so that's what Dr. Janice said. You have to be first aware of what you bring to the table, but you also have to be aware of what the people around you bring to your table. You have to be strategic in putting people around you that can help you meet your goals. And you have to be aware of what resources you need in order to get there, because one of the biggest things that hinder people from reaching their full potential is frustration, and it's frustration from lack of planning. Man, I didn't think I needed that, and I needed that. And you lose momentum looking around trying to find a resource that if you just planned the night before or the morning before, you'll be better prepared to achieve that goal and move on to the next thing. But a lot of times we hit a lot of walls because we don't plan ahead, And so oh man, I'm one tool short. Oh man, I'm one person short. Oh man, I didn't have this training. And we missed the mark, and we get frustrated, and people look at us and say, well, you always fail it. And then we lose the wind, and then we give up. And then when we reach the end of our life, we look back and say, man, I should have kept to it. And so you have to think strategically, what would I need today in order to achieve this goal? Is what I'm doing now going to get me to my goal at the end of the week, at the end of the year, at the end of a decade, at the end of 2, 3 decades? And then if you're not prioritizing your stuff, okay, this is a must do for today. I can do this if I have extra time. This right here, I don't even want to do. I have to delegate because it's not going to get me towards my goal, or this is just busy work. So everything should be done in order of priority, and that's how you harness what you have in order to move forward.
Wow. Powerful, Dr. Howell. Thank you so much again. And I tell you, we are all doing follow-up questions today because I'm just thinking now that if I were to ask myself, or others should ask me, when should I start? When should I start this preparation? I would say no, right now. Now, the Bible says now is the acceptable time.
Hmm.
Now is the day of salvation. It is now. As a matter of fact, I did a quick research in the Bible of the word now, and it is 1,321 times that now is mentioned in the Bible. And most of those now is speaking to time, is speaking to a now time. And so it is so important that we get this word now, that whatever we need to do, we do it now. As Dr. Howell talked about, when you're on your deathbed, you're looking back and saying, what could I have done differently? It doesn't make any sense at that time. And this is the thing. Many times we end up into this state of delay. We want to do it now, but we have all kind of things delay, and then we come with this nice and ploppy things that says, um delay is not denial, and delay is not dangerous, and all of those things. But I'm telling you this, delay is all of that and more if you don't deal with it. Because if you sit there today and say delay is not denial, and next year you're going to sit right at the same place and saying delay is not denial, and you don't move. And delay is actually a spirit, has a spirit behind it. And because there is a negative spirit of delay that can carve your doing, and you wonder, why I can't finish this thing. I hear people starting and say, but I started this thing from last year, I just can't. That's a negative spirit of delay you're dealing with. And unless you deal with that spirit of delay right there, you're
Mhm.
going to find yourself 2 years down the line saying the same thing. You can't finish it. So don't go with that
Mhm.
thing that says, delay is not denial. Delay is going to be denial unless you start, unless you deal with it, unless you do it now. And tomorrow is now. But whenever you are at that now, just start to do it. I want the both of you to just add to that, because I think this
Mhm.
part is so critical when people are saying, when should I start? Dr. Marcia.
You should always start right now. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead, Dr. Howell.
Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah,
Howard.
well, yes, sorry about that. You should always start when you get the inclination, because that is the accepted done. If you look at the story of the guy who amassed a whole bunch of grain, and he said, I would tear down and build back up. And God said to him, hey, you don't even have tomorrow.
Come on.
Now that story was about greed, but it also lets you see that you cannot put off for tomorrow. And in Proverbs, it says that don't put off a friend
What can be done today?
for today if you can do it today. Don't put it off for tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised to any of us. And so I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. If I get the idea, you start now. I'm not going to wait till the end of the year. If I get an idea in April, you think I'm going to wait till January to get started? No, I need to start now. And so now means now. You devise a plan, you put people around you, that will help encourage you. You need a cheerleader, a motivator, maybe some people to teach you, resources, and then you move forward.
Absolutely. Dr. Marcy, add your voice to
It's
that
really
one.
interesting that you should say that, Dr. Hoyle, because my answer would be embedded in that side. Today I did not get to post on my LinkedIn as yet, but my topic actually is delay is and can be dangerous. That was really my topic, and I expound on it in another way, and I'll soon
Mhm,
post it. But I believe that a lot of persons do not start now when they realize their unique gift, or they want to harness this gift to benefit others and themselves because of a number of reasons. But the most prominent one is fear. And the next one, why persons do not go now, is lack of preparation.
mhm,
I have had instances in my life where I have gotten light bulb moments based on my expertise and my talents, and my delivery and so on. However, I have delayed because I believe that if you don't recognize your season, you will linger, or you will allow it to pass you by. So you have to be able to recognize your season. How do you recognize your season? You recognize your season by asking God the question now. What is your perspective? Because in my mind, and my firm conviction is that the steps of a righteous man are ordered by God.
mhm,
And he will tell you when is your now. Because sometimes we buy a car when we should buy a bus.
Come on now.
And
mm,
sometimes we buy a house when we should be selling the house
Come
that we
on.
bought.
mm, mm, mm,
So we have to understand what no really means. No is not just an immediate action. No is a consecrated, purposeful, intentional action based on your preparation. What is your preparation? Your unique gifts. So if persons keep calling on you to say, open a store for persons who are diabetic, who needs particular food items, and who are too busy because they are still working. And if 10 persons tell you that, then that's your no.
Come
Why
on.
are you delaying?
Come
That
on.
is your no. Because several persons who are diabetic and who are busy are appealing to you. They have not gone to anyone else, they have gone to you. So God is guiding you because your unique gift is to make drinks. How do you know that? You are making them in your home, and you're giving them to your relatives and your friends, your church community and your work community, and everybody's saying, awesome, wow, this helped me. Oh my God, why don't you start a business? Why don't you do so and so? But you keep delaying because you're limiting yourself, as Dr. Howell says. So your no would be that persons are calling on you because they're saying this is a need. You have marked it yourself enough, and this is it. That's a unique gift. There might be
mm,
a case also where your no is that you are not, you can sing very well, but you are not spectacular. That is what you want to do, but you are very spectacular when you dance, but you don't have any intention of using that gift to serve your purpose, to serve others. You are just bent on singing. You spend a lot of money and put in a lot of effort to develop that gift, but there is no peace. There's a gap still rising in you. But when you dance, whether you dance for anyone or
mm,
anything, you have this fulfillment, and persons are saying to you, every time they come to you, they say, we need somebody to move with creative dancing who understands it and who loves it generally. But you would never budge because your sights are not on what you are really called to do. Your sights are on what you can do. What you are called to do and what you can do has a different pull. Whenever you find what you are called to do, now becomes very meaningful and purposeful, and you move now. There is no delay.
Wow. Hmm. This is getting
Now, I
even
would
more interesting.
add
What
one
we
little
have to
part to that.
go.
The one extra thing I want to add to that. Sometimes your now is a cognitive mind change that needs to be realized, but now you need to get the resources to make it available. Just like when David's now, he got
Absolutely.
anointed, but he had to wait a while before he became king. There were
Absolutely.
things that he had to do in order to become ready. Moses got picked, but it took
Very much
40
so.
years before he was able to do what he. So there's a mindset change that also needs to take place now, and then God will get you ready for your later now.
And I have to put in something here, Dr. Howell. I'm so sorry, Dr. Brooks, but I have to put something in here because the mindset change is so important and crucial. But sometimes too, the preparations we make are excessive and cost us when we have what we need in our hands. I'm going to give you an
That is true.
example.
Hmm.
Gideon hid away from doing a particular work because of his unique gift of organizing and getting persons, ordering persons together, organizing them to do what is required, getting them to move to do what needs to be done. And Gideon hid for years. And when God found him, he said, God, you're joking. You know, see, hide me, hide. I am hiding. I don't want to do that. But God said, it is you. After he proved it, do you know what he did? Put his reinforcement together. He did his own preparation and he got himself together. And God said, no, you don't need none of what you have prepared. So sometimes when we find our unique gifts and we are ready to go, the people that we think we need are not those persons. The things that we
Hmm.
need to are not those things. And the
Hmm. Hmm.
places that we need to go are not those places. So we still have to focus on using what we have, where we have, why we have, and how we have to get what we really want. And
Mm.
if we put those things together properly, we find that the right persons come on spot. Where we are to be, we get there. And how we are to do it reveals itself and evolves as we evolve in these gifts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
We're talking
Mm-mm-mm.
about we're talking about the power of preparation, and it reminds me of David. He got the appointment, but he had to go. He got the anointing, but he had to wait on the appointing. He had to
Yeah.
spend some time in preparation before he got the appointment. But
Hmm.
that is why preparation is so important, because it was when he was in preparation that he was able to come out and kill the Goliath. Come on now. Look
And
here.
sometimes we don't like the preparation that we get
Yeah.
because Moses was appointed from before he was born.
Mm,
And the decree that Pharaoh made, would have affected him. God made sure that he was
mm,
found. God took him into the where he was to do the greatest work.
mm,
And when he got there, he still had to be prepared for 40 years to do his job. So sometimes the preparation that we get, we really don't want either. But it is gifts. We are talking about unique gifts, which means that if your unique gift is to serve people because that's what you have, then you have to be uniquely prepared for the persons that you are to uniquely serve. Once we
That
get that
is.
in our head, we will accept preparation for what it is. We will recognize it for what it is because spiritual things are really discerned spiritually. What next and preparation are not arbitrary things. They are not mistakes. God don't make any mistakes. However, He prepares you to use what you have and what you realize you need to do the next job that He's assigning to you. Your preparation and pruning is for your elevation. Come
Yes,
on.
yeah, and I think that is T.D. Jakes that said in one of his sermons that our purpose is defined in the storm,
mm.
and so part of the preparation is the storm. David owed Goliath his ability to be seen by the king. If David did not slay Goliath, King Saul would never have known about him.
Come on.
And
Mm,
so,
mm.
we know about Gideon because he tested God. We know about Jonah because of the whale situation. These are people who had to be transformed because of the storm. And so, without the storm, we may never reach our true potential, but it's going to be painful. That's why we call it a storm. But if we get through it, if we just stick with it and get through it, what comes out on the other side is a true and refined purpose that leads us to a direction that will give us fulfillment and happiness.
Ah,
Wow. This is such a powerful session here today. I feel like we are going into so much, and I just want to put this plug right here because we're talking about the power of preparation. And many times in the power of preparation, in the preparation, getting towards that place, we are going to actually feel that spirit of fear coming on. But I want us to remember that that spirit of fear is a negative thing, because God Himself says He has not given us the spirit of fear. This spirit of fear, remember now, the spirit of fear is different from fear, because Solomon says the whole duty of man is to fear God and keep His commandment. That is different. So what is coming on to people why they don't want to get into that preparation stage is a spirit behind a fearful thing. What if this doesn't work? What if I do that? What if? And so we have to be able to separate them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a plug here, but as a matter of fact, when God told Samuel himself to go anoint David, Samuel got that spirit of fear came upon Samuel. You know what Samuel said? Samuel said, "But you are send me down at that house. What if Saul here send me go down there? Hmm? You know, say Saul going to do me something bad if he hears me go down there. You mean God is sending me to go prepare you a thing? And I'm saying to you, me no want to go down there." So it is under. Sorry for the my. I got into my own little language right there. I know, but it is okay for people to feel that thing, because many men felt that thing, but you have to get out from under that spirit of fear. And that is why in 2 weeks' time, we are going to be calling you into that Zoom room. We're going to be calling you into this Zoom room because we want to help people to prepare for their next. There are many next coming up, and many people are unprepared. If we go back into the Bible, and we are not preaching a sermon here today, but we are using examples.
Mhm.
The virgins were not prepared. They had their lamps sitting there. They had the lamp, but they had no oil.
five
Many
of them.
Lord of mercy here. Many people have the lamp, but there is no oil in it because they are not prepared. So, Dr. Marcy, I'm hurrying along because look, if we all start to talk today, we are going to get into
Very
some
much so.
waters.
Yes. My point.
So, Dr. Marcy, I want you to wrap up with this question. Then we are going to have all final moments here. And the question I want you to wrap up with here is, after we have said all of this, what are some of the experiences and achievement that persons can say tick, tick, tick off on their bucket list in the coming year that they would want to tick off? How can they do that?
All right. So there are things that we and I want to maybe look at it from the point of view of dressing. There are many of us who are hoarders. We like to keep a dress that we loved when we were 20, although we are now 50, that really don't fit us. But it is in our closet because for some reason we want to keep it. I think it maybe the memory makes us feel or look back at a time when we wanted to have a particular a particular weight or shape, and so we keep that maybe as a reminder, but we can't really use it. We can't really fit back in that dress no time soon, nor in this life. But we maybe have it just out there to say to someone, I used to fit in a size 8. Good for you, because size 10 is now yours and it will not change and should not change, because as you grew and develop, what you knew when you were 10, if we were to take each of us sitting here, what we know from experience, from observation, from knowledge since we were born, it would not hold in a 10-bedroom house. So we have to understand that as we grow and develop, things change, and there are some things that we cannot carry with us. I wanted to set that framework because some of us keep carrying baggages with us that no longer serve us. We have Literature would no longer serve us. Handbags that should have been put in the garbage long time. Shoes that no longer fit us or no longer resonate with the wear and tear that is on our bodies. It's the same way. There are things and achievements that we have that we might need to tick off. So let's see now. As a, let's say, as a doctor, I served 1 million patients well in relation to curing congestal disease because I deal with the lungs. However, that's really good. But you can't carry these trophies with you. You need to find new persons that, and with new illnesses that are more improved and more complex and more challenging, and you need to focus on them. And they must become your present tense stories, because what you did 10 years ago and that problem that you solved is not the problem that we face now, with all of the lack of air, lack of trees, the reduced and complex ways we expose ourselves to technology that does so much damage according to persons and so on. The air that we are breathing is quite different from what we breathed 10 years ago. So being able to say I cure Mary, who never lived in this time, who does not use the computer, and who lived among trees and went out into fresh air every morning, is really different. So that's one example. So you need to take off that. You need to tick off your list some of the things that you cannot carry with you now, some of your experiences that don't serve you now, and pull and carry only those that can change your present situation. Now, there are also some mindsets that we have that we need to get rid of. The mindset that I am as good as I used to be. No, you are not. You are not as good as you used to be. You are much better. You are much better than you used to be. Your expertise, your experience, and the fact that you are still alive with all of what you have gone through has made you stronger, a powerful, resilient warrior, and a conqueror and an overcomer. So you must walk in that present, your present tense of who you really are, because of what you have gone through. So what you have come through, yeah, you need to tick off that off your list, what you have come through, and you need to tick now who I am. What have I learned? What will I do with what I have learned? Is what you must be putting on your list, so you can tick off what you did with what you have, what you learned, and how you use what you learned. The third and final thing I want to say you must tick off is those persons who never served you. They cannot help you. They don't need your help. They don't want your help, and you can't help them. Stop carrying them with you. They are not your high quality people. They are not your support group. Start to focus on those who have always been with you through thick, thin, joy, sorrow, ease, and hardship. Look at those who have been very consistent and very unconditional in their support. And look at those persons who have been very and highly, very conditional and highly conditional. Those who were with you only in your good times and who disappeared in your bad times, tick them off. You really don't need them. And I'll stop right there because
You're
there are
gonna
other
have to stop, Dr. Marcia, because I think you have started the session already that we are going to be having in that Zoom room. So yes, in 2 weeks' time, we are going to be having this session. The flyer will be out on all the medias on Monday, and you must register for it, because we are going to, and I felt like we were having a preaching session here today, because sometimes we have to bring it from the word, because sometimes people have all kind of saying out there, and they say things, and there is no root, there is no ground, there is no foundation to the things that they say, because if you cannot connect it back to the word, then there is no foundation for that thing. So I'm going to be wrapping up now, because we're past of our time. It's almost 1:45. And so we're going to be wrapping up. Dr. Howie, what's your last word? Because this is such a critical topic, preparing for your next. You see, We can think so many things, but if we don't prepare for tomorrow, the wisest man again, he said, give a little to seven, give a little to eight, because you don't know what is going to happen on the earth. He said, cast your bread upon the waters and you will find it after many days. I could talk so many scriptures that help us to know that we must prepare for the next. Dr. Howell.
Um, on a final note, the only thing I would say is this: as long as you're alive, there's still a next, because we were born with a purpose. As long as you have breath, there's always something that you need to do. There's always some plan that needs to be done. And when you draw your last breath, you'll be able to say, I did everything I was
Yeah.
brought here on earth to do.
Thank you so much. Dr. Marcy, in a minute, you wrap up.
One
You wrap
minute.
up.
What is happening to you now and how are you responding? What do you need to do and what do you have that can serve you is the questions you really need to ask to consider your what next. Because sometimes you're not at 50, you're not above. You're in your 20s, but you're still having issues that you need to contend with. So you need to look at what is happening to you and how you need to respond, because how you respond determines your what next.
Thank you, Dr. Marcia. And I would say sometimes it's challenging. Don't get us wrong and believe that we're causing you to think that it's easy. Sometimes it's challenging to see what you have without doing a real proper self-assessment. So take that self-assessment. And the final thing is when you take it, be true to yourself. And once you're true to yourself, most of the times you're going to realize that you need help. You're going to realize that I need somebody to help me here. And that help, most of the times, is available. So we want to thank you so much for just sitting in here for 45 minutes with us today as we went over our time on this, our Lunch and Learn. We were talking about the power of preparation, preparing for your next. And we do ask you to, if you're watching the replay, just let us know that you've heard it. So put a hashtag replay right there. And if you were with us in this session, let us know that you were in the live, hashtag live, so we can know that you were in here with us. And please look out for the flyer, because we want to pour so much into you in that room where we can get the individual questions and we can individually speak to you so that you are ready and prepared for your next, as we have been doing ourselves, because we can't teach anything that we don't know.
Very much
The
so.
good word says, if you are going somewhere, ask someone who is coming back, because they are the ones that can tell you.
Absolutely.
We want to thank you so much again for joining us. God bless you. And you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend on this Friday evening. In
Bye,
this
everyone. Thanks for having lunch with
Bye,
us.
everyone. Yes, definitely.